Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. The old grandfather clock in the hallway had just chimed 11, its deep bongs echoing through the otherwise silent house. I'd always found comfort in that sound, a steady rhythm in the quiet life I'd settled into after Richard passed. Tonight, though, the silence that followed felt heavier, pressed in by the thick, humid air of a late summer evening. I was curled up on my favorite armchair, the worn floral one by the window, nursing a lukewarm cup of chamomile tea and trying to lose myself in a historical novel. Outside, the porch light cast a lonely yellow cone onto the manicured lawn, illuminating the sleepy suburban street where not much ever happened. That's how I liked it, mostly. Predictable. Calm. Then came the knock. Not a timid tap, but a firm, deliberate rapping on the front door. My heart gave a startled leap, thudding against my ribs. Nobody ever came by this late. My kids were grown and lived hours away, and my few local friends knew better than to drop in unannounced after dark. I froze, listening. Maybe I'd imagined it. But no, there it was again, louder this time. No knock-knock. Definitely real. I put down my book, my hand trembling slightly. Through the sheer curtains, I couldn't make out much, just a tall, indistinct figure standing on my porch. My mind raced through possibilities, none of them pleasant. A salesman? Unlikely at this hour. Someone in trouble? Maybe. I considered ignoring it, pretending I was asleep. It was the sensible thing to do, wasn't it? A woman living alone, but something in the steady rhythm of the knock felt polite, almost hesitant despite its firmness, not aggressive. Curiosity, maybe a little loneliness too, warred with caution. Taking a deep breath, I flicked on the entryway light, peered through the peephole. Standing there was the man from the house next door, the one who'd moved in just a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't officially met him yet, just exchanged nods when we were both getting our mail or taking out the trash. He looked younger than me, maybe early 50s, with thick salt and pepper hair slightly ruffled, kind eyes, and a worried crease between his brows. He was dressed simply in jeans and a dark polo shirt. He wasn't holding anything menacing, just his keys dangling from one hand. He looked anxious. My caution eased slightly, replaced by a flicker of neighborly concern. Maybe his power was out, or he needed help with something. Slowly, feeling a little foolish but also strangely compelled, I unlatched the deadbolt and opened the door just a crack, leaving the chain securely fastened. "Yes?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. His shoulders relaxed visibly when he saw me. "Oh, thank goodness," he breathed, a warm, low voice that surprised me. "I'm so sorry to bother you this late, Mrs." He trailed off, realizing he didn't know my name. "Carol," I supplied, opening the door a fraction wider. "Carol Henderson." "David Miller," he said, offering a small, slightly embarrassed smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Your new neighbor. Look, I really hate to impose. I know it's incredibly late, but I seem to have locked myself out. My phone died hours ago, and my spare key. Well, let's just say it's inside with my wallet and my charger." He gestured vaguely back towards his dark house. "I feel like an idiot. I was wondering if I could possibly use your phone to call locksmith. I promise I'll be quick." He looked genuinely mortified, shifting his weight from foot to foot. There was nothing threatening about him, just a man in a slightly ridiculous, very inconvenient predicament. That feeling of shared humanity, of simple bad luck, chipped away the last of my apprehension. Besides, those kind eyes seemed honest. I hesitated only a moment longer before unclasping the chain. "Oh dear," I said, pulling the door open properly. "That's rotten luck." Of course, come in. Don't worry about it. He stepped inside, bringing a gust of the warm night air with him, along with the faint scent of aftershave and something outdoorsy, maybe sawdust. He looked around my entryway, his gaze polite and appreciative. Thank you so much, Carol. You're a lifesaver. I was starting to think I'd be sleeping on the porch swing. He gave another self-deprecating smile. I led him towards the living room, gesturing towards the cordless phone on the small table beside my armchair. Help yourself, I said. Do you need a phone book, or do you have a number memorized? He patted his pockets instinctively before remembering they were empty, except for his house keys. Right. No wallet. I don't suppose you know a 24-hour locksmith offhand? I confessed I didn't, but fetched the local directory. As he flipped through the pages, his brow furrowed in concentration, I found myself observing him more closely. There was a quiet solidity about him, a sense of capability despite his current lockout situation. He had strong hands, the kind that looked used to fixing things. He found a number and dialed, his voice low and courteous as he explained his situation to the dispatcher on the other end. There was a pause, then a sigh. Okay, yeah, I understand. How long do you think? An hour? Maybe more. Another pause. All right. Yes, I'll be waiting outside. Thank you. He hung up, turning back to me with a wry expression. Well, the good news is, someone can come. The bad news is, it'll be at least an hour, probably longer. Busy night, apparently. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, I don't want to keep you up. I can just wait on my porch. Don't be silly, I interrupted, surprising myself with my own decisiveness. It's late, and honestly, who knows when they'll actually show up. You can wait here. Would you like some tea? Or maybe something stronger? I think I have some brandy somewhere. The offer slipped out before I could second guess it. It felt neighborly, normal, even despite the unusual hour. His eyes widened slightly, then softened with gratitude. Tea sounds wonderful, Carol. Thank you. That's incredibly kind. As I headed to the kitchen to put the kettle back on, I felt a strange flutter, a sense of deviation from my quiet routine that was oddly invigorating rather than alarming. The silence of the house seemed less heavy now, filled with the potential for conversation. I came back with 2 steaming mugs of peppermint tea, handing one to David, who had settled tentatively on the edge of the sofa opposite my armchair. Thank you, he said again, cradling the mug in his hands. The atmosphere shifted. The initial awkwardness of the emergency faded, replaced by the quiet intimacy of 2 people sharing a late-night cup of tea. So, I began, settling back into my chair. Apart from locking yourself out, how are you finding the neighborhood? He took a slow sip of tea before answering. I like it, he said thoughtfully. It's quiet, peaceful. A big change from the city. He mentioned he'd moved from Chicago after retiring from his construction business. My daughter lives about an hour from here, he explained. Wanted to be closer to her and the grandkids, but not right on top of them, you know. I nodded, understanding completely. My son is in California, my daughter in Boston, I shared. It's hard being far away, but you want them to have their own lives too. We talked about our children, the bittersweet pride of watching them build their own worlds. He listened intently, asking questions that showed genuine interest, not just politeness. He told me about his late wife, Susan, who had passed away from cancer 3 years prior. He spoke of her with a gentle sadness, but also with warmth and humor, sharing a funny anecdote about her terrible gardening skills that made me chuckle. His openness invited my own. I found myself talking about Richard, about the suddenness of his heart attack 5 years ago, the gaping hole it left, and the slow process of rebuilding a life on my own. It wasn't something I discussed often, especially not with strangers. But talking to David felt easy, natural. There were no awkward silences, just comfortable pauses filled by the ticking of the clock and the distant hum of the refrigerator. He had a way of listening that made me feel truly heard. We discovered shared tastes in old movies, the black and white classics, and a mutual dislike for overly complicated technology. He described the renovations he was planning for his house, his hands sketching shapes in the air, as he talked about restoring the original hardwood floors and building bookshelves in the den. His passion for the project was evident. "It's good to have a project," I agreed softly. "Something to pour your energy into." He looked at me, his gaze direct and understanding. "It is," he said simply. The hour the locksmith had estimated ticked by, then another 30 minutes. Neither of us mentioned it. The initial reason for his presence had become secondary to the connection unfolding between us in the warm lamplight of my living room. The conversation meandered, touching on past travels, books we loved, the changing seasons. It struck me how long it had been since I'd talked like this with anyone, especially a man. Since Richard, my interactions had been pleasant but surface level. This felt different, deeper. There was a vulnerability in the late hour, in the shared tea and shared stories, that bypassed usual defenses. I noticed the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled genuinely, the thoughtful way he tilted his head when listening. He commented on a painting on my wall, one I'd done myself years ago, a landscape from a trip Richard and I took to Maine. "You painted that?" he asked, admiration in his voice. "It's beautiful. You really captured the light." His unexpected compliment warmed me more than the tea. We weren't flirting, not really. It was more subtle than that, a mutual recognition, perhaps, of shared experiences, of loneliness met with unexpected companionship. The tension wasn't romantic, but emotional. The quiet hum of two solitary souls finding a moment of genuine understanding. We talked about regrets, not dwelling on them, but acknowledging them as part of life's tapestry. He spoke of wishing he'd spent less time working, more time traveling with Susan. I confessed my regret at not pursuing my art more seriously when I was younger. Sharing these vulnerabilities felt like uncovering hidden parts of ourselves, not just to each other, but to ourselves as well. The grandfather clock struck one, then two. Outside, the world remained asleep, cocooned in darkness, while inside my small living room, a quiet, unexpected connection was illuminating the space between us. The arrival of the locksmith, when it finally happened, felt almost like an intrusion. Headlights finally swept across my living room window, announcing the locksmith's arrival. David stood up, draining the last of his now cold tea. "Well," he said, a hint of reluctance in his voice. "Duty calls, or rather, unlocks." He looked at me, his expression sincere. "Carol, I can't thank you enough. Not just for the phone, but for the tea, the conversation. You really saved me tonight, in more ways than one." I stood up too, walking him towards the door. "It was my pleasure, David. Truly." The formality felt strange after the hours of easy conversation. "It was nice talking with you." "It was more than nice," he insisted gently. "Look, I know this was unconventional, but I'd really like to talk again. Maybe over coffee. Or I could bring over that brandy you mentioned once I can get back into my house to find it." He smiled, that warm, eye-crinkling smile. My own lips curved in response. "I'd like that," I said, meaning it. "Coffee sounds good." At the door, he hesitated for just a second, then extended his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and lingered just a moment longer than necessary. Not inappropriate, just significant. A silent acknowledgement of the connection we'd found. "Good night, Carol." "Good luck with the lock, David." "Good night." I watched from the window as he spoke briefly with the locksmith, then disappeared into his own house a few minutes later, the porch light flicking on. I turned off my own porch light, locked the door, and leaned against it for a moment, the silence of the house returning, but feeling different now. Less empty. I walked back into the living room, gathering the empty mugs. The air still seemed to hold the echo of our conversation, the warmth of unexpected companionship. Looking around the familiar room, it felt subtly changed, infused with the memory of the last few hours. I hadn't realized how much I'd walled myself off, how accustomed I'd become to the quiet solitude. David's unexpected arrival, his vulnerability, and his easy company had chipped away at those walls without me even noticing. It wasn't just about having someone to talk to. It was the quality of the connection, the feeling of being seen and understood. As I rinsed the mugs in the kitchen sink, watching the first hint of gray soften the eastern sky, I felt a sense of quiet wonder. Life, even in its predictable rhythms, could still hold surprises. A simple locked door had opened another, one I hadn't even known was closed. I went upstairs not feeling tired, but thoughtful, a gentle sense of possibility stirring within me. The night hadn't unfolded as I could have ever predicted, but it left me with a warmth, a feeling of quiet growth, and the simple, hopeful anticipation of coffee with my new neighbor.